Okay, coming up on this edition of This Week in Penn State Football, we're going to look at some of the key stats and numbers from the 2019 season that may tell the story of Penn State's 2020 season. Let's talk a little numerology, some numbers, and some of the numbers from 2019. Some of players departing, some returning, but they could go a long way in maybe telling some of the story, at least the early story of Penn State's 2020 season. Greg, do you have any numbers you'd like to talk about with me?
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably start with 2, which is a number of coaches that were on James Franklin's 2019 staff that are no longer on his 2020 staff, plus 4, which is the number of graduate assistants and or off-field analysts that Ricky Rahne pried away for his Old Dominion staff. So, last offseason, Franklin, of course, went through a period of time where his recruiting department was kind of ripped open. And he had Justin King went to the XFL, Kenny Sanders went to Oregon, a couple other guys had promotions. So he doesn't have to replace that group this year. Now he has to replace some off-field staffers, plus an offensive coordinator and an offensive line coach. So, those replacements, I think, for Penn State to take the next step, those guys have to be able to be a step above what Penn State had in the past. And that's not a shot at Ricky Rahne or Matt Limegrover. It just is what it is. You're not going to move on from an offensive line coach or have to replace an offensive coordinator who I think most would agree did some nice things, maybe didn't do some other things as well. So to me, that's a focal point heading into spring practice.
Okay, I got 2 for you. They involve Penn State's running game.
Okay.
From last year, 5 and 8. We're going to go with single digits early in this video. 5, Journey Brown had a touchdown in Penn State's last 5 games. Also had over 200 yards in the Cotton Bowl. Made Memphis look silly. I bring Journey Brown up because another number 8, for a guy that only played in 10 games, Noah Cain was sure very efficient.
Yeah.
I thought when he got the ball. 8 rushing touchdowns. That is a record for a Penn State freshman back. The previous record holders were Saquon Barkley in 2015.
Not bad company.
And DJ Dozier, I believe in 1983. 2 future first-round picks.
Yeah.
The fact that we're not even mentioning Devin Ford, Ricky Slade, and 2 true freshman running backs that are coming in, talking about Journey Brown and Noah Cain. I can't ever remember in the last 2 decades a more stacked running back roster at Penn State.
Yeah, good one. I'm going to go with 1. To keep the single-digit theme alive. That was 1 2019 consensus All-American that Penn State had, Micah Parsons, who wears number 11.
Yeah.
And the question I have for 2020, Bob, is it ridiculous to think that number 11 could be among the Heisman Trophy contenders next September, next October, once the 2020 season starts?
If Micah takes just the slightest bit of improvement, he improves just the slightest bit, probably should say it that way, over what he did down the stretch of 2019, he ended up, I think, with 109 tackles, 14 tackles for loss. The clinic he put on in the Cotton Bowl, where he had 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, he had a quarterback hit, 2 passes defensed, 2 forced fumbles, and he forced the interception that was really the biggest play of the game, all in one game. They gave up almost 40 points, and they would have given up probably 50 points if Micah wasn't on the field. If he can just take another step forward, I think it is realistic to say he could finish in the top 5 in the voting, which might mean he could get an invite to New York City. A lot would have to go right for Micah, and he's got to stay healthy. But the talent is so very real, and if you just look at how he improved each year, hadn't even played linebacker in 2018, leads the team in tackles, isn't even a starter.
Yeah.
What he did this year, I have a funny feeling Penn State's going to find some different ways to use him. I think he's going to be more effective as a pass rusher and as a blitzer. And Greg, just the thought. I'll give you 3. The number 3, him, Lance Dixon, and Brandon Smith, when they're on the field at the same time. I don't see there's going to be a lot of room to run for the running backs on the other team. That's really talking about really 3 5-star linebackers on the field.
Oh, another single-digit number.
There you go.
Yeah, I will end with this. I'll throw one more at you. 1,000. Penn State did not have a 1,000-yard receiver in 2019. To me, Bob, if this offense, based on what Kirk Shiraka did with those receivers in Minnesota, I don't know if he's going to have, based on what we saw this year, I'm not sure he's going to have the number, like, what did he have? 3 very, very good targets for Tanner Morgan. I'm not sure he has that many. Penn State's going to make the Big Ten title game, make the college football playoff. I think they'll have the need to have at least 1,000-yard receiver this year.
Yeah, I think it was Rashad Bateman and Tyler Johnson. Rashad Bateman killed Penn State.
Right.
I'm with you. Jahan Dotson I really like him as a player. I don't know that he's really the type of receiver. When you're a 1,000-yard receiver, you have to do a lot of things right. It's not enough to be a great route runner. It's not enough to have good speed. You got to be able to make the contested catch, and you got to be able to break some tackles down the field. I think Jahan Dotson's still a work in progress. They have some players they like, but I don't. Yeah, as we sit here in January and talk about the possibility of a 1,000-yard receiver, I'm just not sure it's there. I think KJ Hamler had 905 yards.
Yeah,
he had the talent to be a 1,000-yard receiver. They just didn't always get him the ball. But yeah, you're right. 1,000 is definitely a number. Penn State didn't have a 1,000-yard running back either. So Kirk's got some talent, but I don't know. I don't know if we're going to see. We could see 3,000-yard performers, but it might be 2,000-yard rushers and maybe a 1,000-yard wideout. But it looks like it's a couple years away.
All right.